Hey guys, hope you're all doing fantastic today. I'm doing really well. So today's Friday. Monday is President's Day, and tomorrow is Valentine's Day, which I don't care about. But we got a letter, or we got an email from our corporate office saying, hey, we want to give you guys a heads up about starting this year moving forward, we're going to be giving you President's Day off, which kind of came random. And I find it funny that if you look in the manual, the employee manual, it says like we need to give them at minimum 2 to 3 weeks heads up before taking a day off. It's like a little bit of a heads up with this would have been nice, because I was already planning stuff for work. But anywho, that's awesome. That just gives me more time to work on stuff around the house. That being said, I was able to track down the remaining 4 land cards from the Godzilla set from Magic the Gathering. So there's 19 cards in the main set. Then there's 1 promo and 5 land cards that came out as a secret layer set. Once I have the remaining 4 land cards, I will have the full complete set, which is awesome. But finding a frame has become a journey. I went to Michael's. I even looked online on their store. They don't have anything for 25 card displays. They have 20. Like when I went there today, they had one for 5, and then they had one for 20. They don't have one for 25. To get both of theirs, it was like $39.99 for the 5 display, and for the 20 it was like 60 something. It was above 60. I know that it was in the 60s, but it was above 60. So you're talking minimum of $90, like $100 just for those 2. And I'm like, if I'm gonna pay $100, I want everything to be together. I don't want it to be separated from the lands to that. So I was looking at what my options are. They do have a 5 display frame on Temu, last place I trust, so I'm not doing that. I was able to find maybe 1 more, but it was on Etsy and it was sold out. So unfortunately, I think the route I'm gonna have to go is making my own. And in all honesty, I don't think it's gonna be that hard. I measured them out, 5 across and 5 down. You're looking at what, 13 across, and it was 17 and 7/8 down. That's the bare minimum. That's all the cards right next to each other, no frame around any of them, just bare minimum. So I can't go any lower than those dimensions. What I have seen a couple people do, and there's 2 routes I can take with this, just depends on how tedious I want to be. I've seen some people take the plastic sleeves that they're in and very neatly with a ruler and a protractor and getting all of the points as accurate as possible, gluing the sleeves onto a board. Because there's 3 layers to this, where you have the glass panel, then you have the inlay that the card is actually attached to, and then you have the backing. The backing, like usually a cardboard backing or whatever that you have in a picture frame, right? Or if I wanted to, and this is the tedious part about it, I could figure out those exact spaces where I need those cards and take an X-Acto knife and trim them out just enough to where the card lays in that inlay. And then you have the backing, obviously, on that. That's one way, or those are the 2 ways. I could either cut out the inlays myself, or I can glue the sleeves on the backing. So the 2 options I have as far as the cases go would be, or the sleeves rather, would be what's on this card right now, which is a standard black sleeve. It's really nice, fits the card really well. You could do exact fit ones, but I really don't see the purpose of having to do that with this. You have, what I've done with some of them is I put them in a plastic sleeve, like it's kind of hard to see it, but these are actually in another plastic sleeve inside a harder plastic sleeve, so they're double protection on that. Could be an option to go with that. I'm kind of leaning of just using the black sleeve, and I want to pick up the black backing to it and see what this would look like if I were to just lay it on there like that, instead of just doing, like, cutting out the inlay for it. I would assume that this would look okay. There's a picture of one that I found online that kind of did that with a larger Pokemon set. Granted, the cards were all pushed together, so it really didn't matter, especially when you looked at it from a distance, which you'll see here now. I have to do a little bit of thinking on that and see which one I actually want to put some time and effort into. Alright, sorry if you can hear the fan going right now. It's late and I just turned it on, so it makes noise. That's actually, I think, going to be one of my projects coming up here. Is I'm talking to the guy who does electrical work on the house, and he's going to give me a quote for doing all 4 fans. So hopefully in the next few months I can get all the fans taken care of and we're fine with those. While I was doing some late night cleaning, because right now it's about 9:50, and I came across a frame that I can use. So it handles 5 across and 5 down very well. There's even a little extra space in there, which is great. What I have to do is figure out the spacing in between them, regardless on which way I do it, whether I'm gluing them to the backing or if I'm doing like an inlay type of thing with another piece of paper and using an X-Acto knife and cutting out all the squares. I have to figure out how much of the spacing is going to be in each one. And one thing, I know one way of doing that is basically just sliding like all of these over to the side and figuring out how much extra space you have on the side, and then doing the same top to bottom and figuring out how much space you have, and then dividing that among those spaces. I have to take into account though that there's also a lip on the top, bottom, left and right side of it. So I got to take that into account and make sure that I don't measure that when I'm doing this too. So yeah, but I'm happy I found a frame for it. That's cool. Now I just have to work with it and see which way I want to take this. Alright, so this is the black matted sheet that I bought. I got it cut to fit the same dimensions as that, as the frame. The issue is it is a little smaller than I would like, just because there's a gap, or an overlap rather, that kind of comes over, what is that? It's not even a full centimeter there. So you're looking at what, a little over a quarter on that side and a little over a quarter on that side, so about half altogether. The issue is that leaves me with, because what I wanted to originally do was have this as more of an overlay, have that as the background, but then have this as the overlay, and just cut the holes for the cards a little smaller, just a hair smaller than what they actually are, and then have the cards, like have that covering up basically the frame of the cards, and it looked really nice. The issue is that because you're already cutting off basically a ½ inch of space, the gaps in between each of the cards is going to be very small. So that kind of made me worry about the structural integrity of it. So what I'm going to do is basically just place these on the mat with double-sided tape. If I'm able to find a really good frame down the road that's more like, say, a Godzilla themed one, for example, and it's bigger, that would be awesome too. I like this setup, having the 5 and then 5 along the bottom. The issue is I kind of would like to have it turned, have it the long way. They won't fit on this the long way. So instead of going out and buying a new frame, I already had this frame lying around and it wasn't being used. Figured I might as well use it. So now I got to go through, find the dimensions for this space over here, and then divide it by how many gaps we need, and do the same thing top to bottom and find out how many gaps, or what the spacing is for all the gaps that we need. So that's the project I'm working on now, and then afterwards then I can get the exact spacing for each of them, put a quick little pencil mark there, and then I can start putting the cards on. And then I should be wrapping this up hopefully today or tomorrow, which would be cool, depending on how long it takes me to do math with fractions. Alright, so here's what I did. Got all of the stuff kind of held down lightly by tape, going all the way up and down. This spacing over here turned out to be 2 5/16, and then this spacing along the top ended up becoming 1 7/16. So the spacing in between them, if I did this right, the spacing on the top as well as in between the cards would end up being about 4/16, and along the bottom it would end up being about 6/16. So that's why I kind of didn't want to do this as an overlay. You might be able to get away with it because this paper is a little thicker, but I really didn't want to take a chance. So, and like I said, this isn't supposed to be like a 100% like, oh, they're going to be here for the rest of their life. Like, once I actually find a good sized frame down the road, yeah, I wouldn't mind putting them in something really, really good quality. But until then, this will do the job perfectly fine. So now I just got to get everything measured, and then we can start putting the cards down. And here it is. That worked out phenomenally well. I think it looks amazing. I love it. I mean, this isn't going to be where it is right now. This is just, I saw a nail on the wall that used to have a Lego picture on it, so I just threw it up there. But this looks awesome. I love it. The spacing worked really well. I know there's a wicked glare on it right now just because of where it's placed on the wall, but once we actually get it placed where it's supposed to be, and there's like natural light coming in the room as well during the day, that glare goes away and it looks just fine. But as far as the cards go, you have, let's see, you have Godzilla, King of the Monsters, you have a King Caesar Ancient Guardian card, Mothra, Supersonic Queen, Baby Godzilla, Ruin Reborn, Space Godzilla, Death Corona, Bioquartz, Space Godzilla, Godzilla, Primeval Champion, Anguirus, Armored Killer, Godzilla, Doom, Inevitable, Destroya, Perfect Lifeform, Ghidorah, King of the Cosmos, which I think is a really cool card, Biollante, Plant Beast Form, another King Caesar, Awoken Titan, Dorat, the Perfect Pet, and Rodan, Titan of Wing Fury. And then you have a promo Mechagodzilla with another Mechagodzilla, and then a Batra, which is the darker form of Mothra. And then you have Mothra's Cocoon. They have 3 cards in Japanese, which I think is really cool. The last of the core set ones, which would be Gigan, Cyberclaw Terror. But then they also have 5 land cards, which I mentioned earlier in another video, that were themed for Godzilla, which I thought was really cool. And those land cards are part of a Secret Lair set, so those were different from the actual core set cards. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I was planning on talking about some anime Milwaukee stuff that I saw or picked up and how much I enjoyed that, but that's gonna have to wait until the next video for next week because I didn't realize I had that much content for the Magic the Gathering set. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed putting together a display for this set, and it got me thinking about like doing that for the Pokemon sets too, like some of the ones for like Fossil or Jungle, maybe even some of the like the Neo Genesis, the second gen type ones too. Those would be neat, but having the space to put those in is another issue all on its own. So for right now, it's just gonna remain with the Godzilla stuff, which I absolutely love. The way it turned out was amazing. So hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any ones that you've done like that yourself, let me know in the comment section below. If you how you display your card collections, let me know. But that's gonna do it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care and peace out.